All right. We are ready for prime time, I think. All right, well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to FSBO Boot Camp. I'm delighted that you're here. I've met all of you by now, but my name is Frank Gray. And just so you'll know, Thomas, because you may not know, my role as Director of Business Development is to help our agents create the time and money needed to live an abundant life. Okay? So if you're looking to create cash in your business, you need more leads in your business, we can help you with that. In fact, you're at the right class for that. If you get to a stage of your career, perhaps where Betty is, where money is not the issue, leads are not the issue, but time is the issue. That, I'm generating all the cash I need, but I need more time to enjoy it, we can help you with that. We've got classes around both leads and leverage, around time and money. And then we package that training with consulting on the front end to make sure it's relevant to your business plan, help you put together a business plan, and then we'll follow it up on the back end with masterminds, which we haven't put together in these two offices yet. But as we generate some momentum in these classes and we get more agents tuned into progression, there will be a desire for peer support mastermind groups, and we'll put those together at just the right time. Okay? So today's class is FSBO Boot Camp. Now, how many of you all have worked FSBOs before as an active source in your business? Okay, Virginia has. And then, Betty, I'm sure you have. You probably...
There. Oh, okay. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
So if you jump up and run out, I'm not going to take it personally. Okay. All right.
My name over head, you know that's
How many years has it been, Betty, since you knocked on a FSBO's door? Cold call.
probably 20 years.
20 years. Okay. Virginia, how long for you?
I called them, knocked on their door.
Okay. So never. And Thomas, have you ever done it?
Never really had to or desired to.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you're here to have some new knowledge. Hi, I'm Frank. No.
Donnell Vallejo.
Hi, it's Donna?
Donnell.
Donnell. Okay, Donnell. Glad you're here. Do you have a manual? Looks like you do. Okay, excellent. Okay, so it looks like we're a fairly inexperienced group, or at least it's been a long time since we had that experience with FSBOs. Donnell, do you actively work FSBOs as a source of business?
Just began. I am a brand new. So,
Brand new. And when did you join this office?
this week.
Are you serious? And you've not been a real estate agent previously?
No, I've been a teacher for 17 years.
Wow, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. Thomas joined our company yesterday.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Betty's been here for 30 years. And Virginia's an experienced agent who moved here from New York a year or so ago. April of this year. Okay, all right. So glad you're here.
Thank you.
It's going to be a great start. So let's talk about FSBOs. Follow along with me in your manual. Let's go all the way to page 3. And let me give you an overview of where we're headed in the class today. So the purpose of this session is to teach a proactive approach for effectively moving into relationship with people who've indicated a definite need to sell their home. How do we know they have a definite need to sell? There's a sign in the yard that says for sale, okay? So after this class, you should feel confident enough to visit and follow up with all for sale by owners, okay? So right now, so Donnell, I'll pick on you because you're brand new. Well, what would I say if I go talk to a FSBO for short, okay? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to offer them. And so if you lack confidence, you're probably not going to go knock on the door, are you? Because you want to feel like you have something to say that's halfway intelligent and provides value to the seller. Well, guess what? 90 minutes from now, you will all be in that position. You'll have been exposed to everything you need to know, do, and have in order to effectively implement this strategy. Okay? So the result of being here and taking action is a revenue increase in your business of $24,000 to $150,000 on an annual basis. That's the potential of this one source of business over a 12-month period. And the difference between $24,000 and $150,000 is not how much more work you put in or how many more doors you knock on. The difference is your commitment to developing your skills, to moving from an initial exposure to the material today to mastery of the material over time. With no more input, no more door knocks, you can substantially increase your conversion rates. Okay? So here's the plan. And I realize that this operational model is brand new to 3 of you. So let me just pause here and explain what this means. Where it says FSBO, or for sale by owner, that is in the place of our prospecting sources. There's really 10 sources from which all real estate business comes. 5 of them are prospecting sources. 5 are marketing sources. And prospecting simply means you don't need a prior relationship to generate business out of that source. Okay, so a FSBO, you don't know those people, you've never met them before. That's okay, you can still go knock on their door. So we're not looking at the other 4 this morning. We're not talking about open houses, farming, networking. We're specifically focusing on FSBOs. Once you prospect, you do that to generate leads. There's only 3 types of leads. There's new leads, referral leads, and repeat leads. New, referral, repeat. Specifically out of FSBOs, new and referral. And we'll talk, the new is obvious, okay? A new relationship. Referral, I'll talk in a moment about how that comes out of a FSBO relationship, okay? Now, once we generate a lead, we attempt to convert it. All leads can be converted into 2 types, sellers and buyers. That's pretty simple, isn't it? And in FSBOs, what's the primary focus? What are we trying to convert here, a seller or a buyer? A seller, that's the most obvious, isn't it? And yet I'm going to show you how FSBOs can be an excellent source of buyer leads also. And so that's why we have both sellers and buyers on this operational model. Okay? Once we enter into a relationship with a seller or buyer, we put them into our client care systems. Those are our short-term follow-up and long-term follow-up. Out of that relationship, we have the opportunity to market the relationship. Okay, and by that, I just mean very simply, if you take a listing, if you convert a FSBO, they become your client, you're going to put a yard sign in the front yard, right? Do you know what happens when you put a yard sign in the front yard? The phone rings, okay? So it becomes a source of additional leads, both new and referral. But it's more than just the yard sign. There's the home ads, internet, just listed, and I'm going to have you write in here, just sold. Because if you sell that FSBO's listing, you'll have the opportunity to implement a just sold campaign, and all 5 of these marketing sources will generate additional business. By the way, I'll put a plug in for next week's class, which is our marketing boot camp, and that's where we're going to explore all 5 marketing sources to generate additional business. And it doesn't, that's not like, okay, how do you install the yard sign in the front yard, okay? No, it's what you say on the phone when somebody calls you from a yard sign, or from a home ad, or from an internet listing, okay? And then specifically, who do you target and what do you mail in a just listed, just sold campaign? So all of that's next week, okay? The strategy that we're teaching today is called the 5-step follow-up method. There's lots of strategies for converting FSBOs, and all of them are effective, okay? You can Google them. You can go to remax.net and pull up all types of FSBO strategies, but we teach one specific strategy that has been proven over time to be highly effective, okay? So we're not dissing all the other programs out there. We're just saying this is our program. And the reason we're not going to implement or teach a different strategy next month or the following month is that we do want you on the path to mastery. We want you to pick a strategy and go deep on it and master it, because that's what's going to move you from 24,000 to 150,000. So don't be surprised if 90 days from now FSBO Boot Camp shows up on our training calendar again. Guess what? It will be this same class. And if you've chosen to make FSBOs a primary source of your business, I would expect to see you back in class again, okay? Hearing the very same material, but having completely different ahas, okay? You can't master anything just by being exposed to the material one time. You're going to be exposed today. If you say, okay, I can do that, I'm in, I'm committing to that source, then you're going to go take action on it. The next time you come back, you're going to hear it completely differently. You're going to see it completely differently because you'll be a different person in a different perspective, okay? There are additional classes that you'll want to take if you're going to focus on FSBOs. Our listing conversion, buyer conversion, client care boot camp, and marketing boot camp. Again, marketing is next week. The other three, listing, buyer, and client care, will be coming up over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And let me tell you why these are called related classes. The entire purpose of today's strategy is to teach you what you have to do to get underneath the kitchen table of a potential seller, okay? To have a listing conversation. But in this class, we're not going to tell you what to say when you get to the kitchen table, okay? That's what the listing conversion class is all about. So this is very specifically, how do you go from complete stranger, knock on the door, to getting under their kitchen table, okay? So that's what this class will teach you, all right? Summary. FSBO Boot Camp teaches a 5-step follow-up method, which is a very complete, non-threatening approach to effectively working for sale by owners. Associates are taught how to proactively approach, follow up with, and close FSBOs in a way that adds values to all. Plans, scripts, and follow-up materials are all provided. Okay? All right, so y'all ready to go on this journey with me? All right, I think you're going to like it. In fact, let me just tip you off. I really like this class because it is super simple. Now, there are some prospecting and marketing sources that really require some effort, and there's a lot of setup involved and a lot of work, and you got to wrap your mind around certain things. This class is really simple. Anybody can implement this strategy and start seeing results quickly. Okay? All right, page 4, the financial consequences. Whenever we teach a new prospecting source, we like to talk about, okay, well, what's the potential? If I commit to this, what can happen? I mentioned total income possibility between $24,000 and $150,000. Let me break that down for you. Look at the first column here where it says consistent phase 1. Consistent is the level of commitment that you bring to this, okay? That, okay, I may not be very good at it initially, but I'm going to commit to it and I'm going to implement the activities consistently. So we call that phase 1. If this is a primary source, you're going to commit to it for at least 45 weeks out of the year. So we're giving you 7 weeks off, right? We're all career full-time, so 45 weeks is not too burdensome to us. We're going to say, again, if you commit to this, a minimum of 2 new attempts a week. That means identify 2 FSBOs per week that you've not reached out to before and reach out to them. So that would be a total of 90 visits over the course of a year. A set rate of 15%. And when we say 15%, that means you set an appointment with them to come back for a listing conversation. So the total meetings over the course of a year are 14. Conversion rate, 50%. That means of the 14 that you actually sat down with, you listed their home half the time. Total listings 7, sales percentage 50%. Would you agree with me that's absurdly low? You should, in this market, you should be selling 90-95% plus of your listings. Total sold 4, average GCI 6,000. That would be 3% on a $200,000 house. Is that reasonable in this market? Maybe high. So you could scale that down. If your average sales 150,000, that would be 4,500. But 6,000. It's probably reasonable for this market, meaning total income from the source 24,000. Now in phase 2, the efficiency stage where you're actually getting pretty good at this, and if you commit to this as a source, you could be there in 3 to 4 months. It's no more weeks committed, no more visits per week, just two new relationships, but your conversion rates go up higher. You're setting 25% instead of 15. Conversion rate is higher in the meeting. You're taking more listings. You're selling more listings. The result, $78,000 in income. And in phase 3, which is proficiency, that's where it's hitting on all cylinders. You've committed to this on a path to mastery. This may take 6 months, 9 months. But ultimately at this point, you're setting appointments with a third of the FSBOs that you enter into relationship with, that you have a face-to-face conversation with at their door. A third of them will ultimately meet with you. You're going to convert 90% of them. You're going to list 90% of those who meet with you. You're going to sell 95% of those. That's a very reasonable expectation if it's priced right in this market. Total income from the source, $150,000. So that's what that looks like. So you could, okay, by the way, does anybody know, Virginia, you probably know because I've been talking about this, what did the average realtor in America gross last year, 2012? You're very close, a little high. NAR is celebrating the fact that last year, average income rose to $34,000. Gross, okay? Would you agree with me? That's gross on many levels, okay? Yes. So my point is, if all you ever did in your real estate career was FSBOs, but you committed to mastery and you said, doggone it, I'm going to knock on 2 doors a week. But I'm going to do it 45 weeks of the year, and I'm going to really focus with an intent to progress and get better at this, to master my dialogue and build my confidence so I have very high conversion rates. You could generate 5 times the income of the average realtor from this one source alone. Okay? All right. So here's the no-do-have. Every time we introduce a new prospecting source, we're going to tell you everything you need to know, do, and have to implement it. Okay? And most of it we'll actually give you. Most of it's provided in the manual. But this is, the intent is so that you don't get overwhelmed. You know, oh, it's a new thing. What's everything I have to do? Well, it's fairly simple. So we're prospecting. We talked about that. The specific prospecting source is FSBOs, as opposed to open house or farming, that type of thing. The specific strategy we're implementing is the 5-step follow-up method. So this is the do. On the no, do, have, we're doing this method. So what do we need to know to do this? You need phone dialogue, viewing dialogue, closing dialogue, and follow-up dialogue. What do all those things have in common? I'm asking you the easy questions first. They're all conversational. That's right. It's all dialogue. Okay, so you're going to hear me say this 1,000 times. The most effective tool a realtor has is their tongue. What separates amateur realtors from professional, high-producing realtors is their mastery of dialogue. Their ability to speak into any question, any situation with confidence. Okay? So that's why we focused a lot on dialogue. Now, what do you need to have? This is a fairly extensive list, a call list, okay, or a home base. So where do I find these FSBOs? Okay, that's what that's about, and we're gonna answer that for you. An inventory sheet, which is in your manual. A clipboard, you got to buy your own. Okay, plunk down the $1.89. An electronic tape measure, and I would also say an old-fashioned 25-foot tape measure, because electronics don't work in every situation, certainly not outdoors and not in these, you know, curvy rooms sometimes. Seller's disclosure, which you can print that off our website. FSBO follow-up pack, which I'm going to detail for you. Thank you notes, a tracking sheet, which I'm going to give you, and an area map. Okay, so none of this is too overwhelming, is it? Especially if I give half of it to you before we leave today, and you probably already have a tape measure. So, okay, Jolly Brady in the house. Good to have you here. Jolly, do you have a manual? You have it. Okay, excelente. All right. So, here we go. Let's talk about why we would consider this as a source. Why visit a FSBO, okay? Because 100% of FSBOs have indicated a definite desire to sell, okay? That makes this a stocked pond. In fact, we would say it is the most dollar productive source. If you spend time knocking on the doors of FSBOs, the dollars that can be generated in that time exceed what could be generated from any other prospecting source. Because we know they want to sell their house. You know what else we know about them? 90% are ultimately going to list with a realtor. They are not going to sell their home by themselves. 90% of the time. So that's why this is very dollar productive to enter into a relationship with them. Now, keep in mind, this is not secret knowledge. Okay? Most realtors know this. And that's why when a FSBO sign goes up, there will often be a lot of knocks at the door, and if people have the phone number, a lot of calls in there. But what distinguishes, again, amateurs from professionals, good morning, Rod, glad you joined us, is that professionals hang in there, they persevere, they persist in pursuing the relationship, and that's why the strategy that we're teaching you today is not the one-step follow-up method. It's the how many steps? The 5-step, okay? So we're going to hang in there, and when all the other realtors have washed out and moved on, we're going to be the one there standing when they finally throw in the towel and say, okay, please list my home. This is not working, okay? We're worse off now than we were 6 weeks ago when we decided to save all this money and be so crafty and sell it ourselves, okay? You want to be the one who's there. Okay, so I mentioned that we can do more than sell the FSBO's home. That's obviously a primary intent, but there's actually 6 possible sources of income from working a FSBO. So here they are. We can sell the FSBO's home, okay? In other words, we can bring a buyer and get paid for it, whether we list it or not. We can take the FSBO's listing and get paid when it sells. There's another source. We can work the FSBO as a buyer, whether they ever let us list their home or not. If they're buying locally, then we can represent them on that side of the purchase. We can get a referral for the FSBO. In other words, we may find another agent who has a buyer for that home, and if the FSBO is willing to pay a 3% commission to a realtor who brings a buyer, we can get a referral on that. We can get a referral from the FSBO. In other words, the FSBO might say, I'm not going to work with you, okay? I'm doing this my own thing because I am super smart, okay? I'm smarter than the average bear. However, my cousin, my aunt, my neighbor needs to sell a house, needs to buy a house, and I would like to put them with a realtor like you. I'd like them to get the kind of service that you've been demonstrating to me without even a formal relationship, and then fee for service. Again, they may not list with you, but they're like, we need some help. We don't know what contracts to use, what forms to use. We don't know how to negotiate this deal. We don't know how to market our property. And you have the ability to say, I'll help you with those things. You know, with the contracts, $1,000. With some negotiating strategy, an extra $500. You want me to put together a marketing plan? Great, that'll be $2,000. You have the ability to do that, fee for service. So lots of income opportunities springing out of that one relationship. Okay, so let's get into the head of a FSBO for just a moment. Why would a seller decide to go solo? They don't want to pay the commission. They want to save the money, right? Very smart, very, very crafty. So, question, if everyone were into saving money, wouldn't they all be driving Yugos, okay, or the little Ford economy cars, okay? No. I mean, people drive, we don't just always buy the cheapest car for sale, right? So, every time we purchase something, if it's not the absolute bottom dollar product in that category, we have made a mental decision that there's value to be had for paying more. Okay? Whether it be for a car, for a home, for a new pair of glasses, a new pair of shoes, I don't just want the cheapest, I want the best value in what I'm looking for, okay? Here's the truth we got to wrap our heads around. It's perception of value. That's the issue. FSBOs don't think a realtor is worth 6%. They might think you're worth 1% or 2%. It could be anything less than 6%. They're just like, I'm not giving away that much equity in my home to a realtor. It's just not worth it. The value is not there. So that's the issue. So if you're going to be effective in working FSBOs as a source, what do you have to do? What's the obvious takeaway from that? You have to increase the perception of value that you bring, or dramatically discount your commission. Okay, you're going to have to get down there to their value perception, or raise their perception of your value. If you are a typical realtor, you're never going to get there, because they've already decided the typical realtor ain't worth 6%. So you're going to have to demonstrate, oh, I'm not typical. I understand why you wouldn't pay the masses 6% to attempt to sell your home. but let me share with you my intentional and proactive approach to selling your home in a way and with an end result that fully satisfies all your needs from the sale, okay? So you're going to speak a different language, you're going to approach them differently, a completely different approach. All of that with the intent of separating you from the pack so that they realize you're not just another realtor who's going to put the home in the MLS, okay? All right, so finding FSBOs, okay, critical issue. Where do you find these rascals if you're going to work them as a primary source? And so we're going to share with you several ways to do that right now. First of all, it's just by driving by and seeing the signs. So we're going to coach you, if you select this as a source of business, to identify a home base. That would be a neighborhood where you want to work. So the home prices, home values in that area fit within your business plan. Okay? So they're 100,000 or 150, they're 350, whatever you have determined is going to be necessary to meet your financial requirement. It should be an area that's convenient for you, right? If you're going to be driving through it on a weekly basis, so it needs to be probably near your home, near your office, or near an area that you frequent, okay? So initially we're going to say, identify your home base and then all the neighborhoods within say a 2-mile radius of that home base. And let me just say this, 2 miles might be too aggressive initially. If you drive a 2-mile radius around this office, you're going to be taking in 10,000 homes. Okay, that's a massive area. So you might want to start even closer in. Identify a neighborhood of 500 homes, for example, that you can literally drive in 10 minutes. Something like that. Or a little broader if you're going to commit a little more time to it. But establish your home base and then commit to driving it. I live in a neighborhood of only 225 homes. Okay, and I don't drive all those streets because I just go straight to the exit and out, okay? But I walk those streets 3 or 4 days a week. I'd like to say 7 days a week, but I'm usually up doing my early morning walk 3 or 4 days a week. And that's how I keep tabs on what's in my neighborhood because I want to know. I mean, if somebody goes for sale and it's a FSBO, I'm offended by that, okay? If it's for sale and it's somebody other than a RE/MAX realtor, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's wrong with these people, okay? And I feel sorry for them because I know they're not going to get top flight representation. So I want to know what's going on in my neighborhood. So find out, identify your home base, and then monitor it very carefully. Ultimately, you can expand that to more homes, to a higher radius, and so drive-by is a critical way of finding them. But there are other sources. Local newspapers, theredx.com, Craigslist. People, if FSBOs are always on Craigslist, right? There's a category for them. Team members, and that means if it's not just you, you've got a buyer's agent. A buyer's agent, one of their key responsibilities is reaching out to FSBOs. Okay? The trash man, the mailman, the cable guy, anybody who regularly traffics on the streets in your home base. I would encourage you to get to know them and bribe them. Just tell the pizza guys, absolutely. And they're very money motivated, right? Or they wouldn't be delivering pizzas. Very money motivated. And you just say, hey, I'm a realtor. I work for sale by owners as a primary source of business. You've got eyes on the street. I'll give you a $25 gift card, or I'll give you $20 in cash every time you call me with an address of a FSBO that I didn't already know about. Okay? So bribe them to be your eyes on the ground. Now, speaking of the REDX, has anybody ever used this source? Are you familiar with this? It's a third-party service that collects information on people who have a need to sell their home. They might be pre-foreclosure, they might be expired listings, they are FSBOs. There's another source that Virginia and I are both using called landvoice.com, which is even a little bit less expensive, and let me just show it to you real quick. So I signed up for a LandVoice account last week because I care about you all so much and I want to be able to demonstrate this to you. So this is the FSBO listings that LandVoice has identified in our market area, and I had to choose, so I said everything north of I-10. And they've got their sources. I mean, they have people who literally scour Craigslist and the Chronicle and the ForSaleByOwner.com website and catalogs that you can pick up at the grocery store. And then they try to get additional contact information if they can. So you can see here's one in Houston, 77058, $52,000, okay? And a 908 area code. So that's probably an out-of-town, it's an absentee owner, that's probably a little rental home, okay? You may or may not want to follow up on that. But you'll see that there's 28 FSBOs that have been identified within the last 7 days. And you can just scroll down, okay? Here's got this seller's name, David. He's in Katy, $129,000 asking price, and there's his phone number. Here's one on Laurelton in Humble, Texas. Well, what do you know? $115,000, 2 phone numbers, 903 area code, so they either moved here from Northeast Texas or they still live in Northeast Texas, okay? But you could just, if you could scroll down, let's see if my link is still live. And there you go, you just go, some of them have full names, some of them have email addresses, some of them have multiple contact phone numbers. So that's an easy way to get the data, okay? And by the way, my account costs $600 a year, and that gives me all the expireds and all the FSBOs north of I-10, okay? So you wouldn't want to pay $600 unless you're going to say this is a primary source for me. In that case, $50 a month to save you all the time, energy, and hassle of identifying this stuff is probably well worth it, okay? And by the way, nobody tell LandVoice, okay? But one of the reasons I signed up for this is to give you guys an opportunity to test drive it at no cost. So if you say, I want to work FSBOs or I want to work expireds, which we talked about last week, let me know, and I'll give you access to my account for a couple of weeks. You can test drive it, and if you say, yeah, I'm going to commit to this, then I'll encourage you at that point to get your own account. Okay? All right. Hopefully they won't be too upset with me about that. All right. So there's where you find them. Okay? And by the way, you don't need hundreds, do you? I mean, according to the Financial Consequences page, 2 new conversations a week is all it takes. Okay? 2 new ones to achieve at a very high level. So here's the overview of the 5-step follow-up system. Here are the 5 steps. Step 1, visit the FSBO. Step 2, visit the FSBO. Step 3, visit the FSBO. Step 4, visit the FSBO. Step 5, call the FSBO. That's it. 5 steps, the first 4, all involve face-to-face door knocks. Until, by the way, you don't have to go all the way to 4. Because in every interaction that you have, you are attempting to determine if the time is right to ask for a listing conversation. You may get that on your first conversation, you may get it on your second. We'll go all the way to 4, and after that we're going to keep calling them weekly. Step 5 is weekly calls until they either list with another realtor or they sell the home, okay? Or list with you. Obviously that's the desired outcome, okay? So, note, every time you get face-to-face with a FSBO, you must give them an item of value. It actually goes beyond that. Every time you knock on a FSBO's door, whether they answer or not, you're going to give them an item of value. You're going to have something that you leave to let them know that you were there and are committed to helping them in their quest to sell their home. Okay? Here's the importance of follow-up that I alluded to a moment ago. 50% of your competition, other realtors, will quit after week 1. In other words, they'll knock on the door once, they'll leave their card once, and then it's up to the FSBO to initiate the relationship. They're done. Okay? 75% will quit after week 2, and you can see that I've already been by their doggone house twice. They haven't called me back. Okay? They're dropping out of the game. 90% will quit after week 3, and after week 4, it's just you. You're the only one still in the game. And typically it's going to take 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks before they finally throw in the towel and say, okay, call that realtor. Okay, which realtor? Well, the one who's been knocking on our door every week and calling us every week since then. Okay, that's the one. You got to be top of mind when the decision comes to list their home. So you have to persist. But if you stay in the game, if you commit to this strategy, you will be the one standing when the time comes. Okay? All right, so step one, let's get into it. I said this is a super simple strategy. You're going to get this. It's not complicated. In fact, you're going to walk out of here saying, I could do that. I could do that today. So here we go. Step one. At the front door, knock, 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 they answer. Here's your dialogue. You know, hi, my name is Donnell with RE/MAX. I noticed your home is for sale. Would you mind if I came in, viewed the home, and took some room measurements so I can add it to my for sale by owner inventory? Now that's a different approach, isn't it? It's not, hey, I'm a realtor. If you want to list your house, let me help you. Okay? Totally different approach. Now, have they ever heard of a FSBO inventory by a realtor before? No, this is completely different concept. It's different language. So you're probably going to get a response like, huh? What's that? What did you say? Well, here we go. I have a process that I use with all my buyers where we uncover the criteria for their perfect home. I then take that criteria and match it to the homes in both the MLS, which every realtor does, but here we go, and my for sale by owner inventory to make sure the buyers who work with me get the home they want, and more importantly, want the home they get. So what do you say? Would you like preferred exposure to a focused group of buyers? Now, it'd be hard for a FSBO to say no to that, right? Okay. But if they do, they say, I'm not so sure about that. We're gonna sell this thing ourselves. That's all right. Thanks for your offer, but no thanks. We don't want to work with a realtor. So here we go. I appreciate that, and I understand your concern. The reason for my visit today is not to list your home. I would simply like the opportunity to help you try and sell it, and all I want to do is come in, view the home, and take a few measurements. No pressure and no pitch. Come on, what do you have to lose? Okay? By the way, could you say that? Are those words that could come out of your mouth? I'm asking because it's a kind of a personality issue a little bit here. I mean, that's pretty direct. And by the way, let me just say this.